Purple belts and brown belts quitting jiu-jitsu. Does this ever even happen? I thought once you get your purple belt, you were essentially guaranteed to get a black belt, if you keep training, that is. In this video, I'm going to cover the third great filter in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I'm going to encompass purple and brown belts in this video. Now, I haven't got my brown belt, and I'm still a purple belt, but based off what I've seen, this is why people seem to quit before black belt, even if they make it to the advanced rank of purple or brown belt. To summarize this video, essentially it takes many years to achieve a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's not uncommon for 10 or more years to be spent before someone gets their black belt. And the thing is, over a span of 10 years, people's life circumstances change so much, and often in a way that means they take on more responsibility that they didn't have when they started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And it goes from a scenario where they could train however many days a week they wanted as long as they can, to now they have to worry about supporting themselves, other people, perhaps some children. They have other responsibilities and other things on their plate that weren't there. And now training 7 days a week is not possible anymore. I'm not saying you have to train 7 days a week to get a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But from my own personal experience, what I'm saying is when I started, I was 17 years old, honestly didn't have a whole lot of friends, didn't have a whole lot going on, really bored, didn't really enjoy school or whatever dead-end job I could find. It didn't seem very entertaining or very worth my while. But 5 to 6 days a week, there was this thing that I could go to where I could try to wrestle and strangle other grown men, and it was really cool. And I just kept doing that, and I kept showing up, and I'm still on that path. But since the time that I started that, I began and nearly completed college. I now take care of a dog that I didn't have to take care of. I have a girlfriend that I didn't have before. And if this path continues, it's very reasonable that I'm going to have a lot more responsibility later on. And this is very common. I think it's a good thing. I think most people want to have more responsibilities because it gives their life some meaning. But what this means is that people who can't prioritize Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu over other things in their life simply fizzle out over time. And more often than not, what I see when it comes to purple and brown belts who can't make it to black belt, sometimes they just never grapple again, but for the most part, life sort of overwhelms them for months, maybe even a year or two, and then they get back into it after a while. Maybe it's not as much as they used to, maybe they're not on that same progression path, but by the time you're a purple belt, jiu-jitsu is a little bit, speak for yourself, but for me personally, it becomes a little bit, maybe even a big part of my identity. And it's what I do, it's a social outlet, it becomes a whole thing beyond just an activity to do when you're bored. And for that reason, usually people don't drop out, but I've seen a lot of purple and brown belts who have been purple and brown belts for 8-9 years just because they started training and then they trained a lot and they were continuing to get better. But then as they adopted more responsibility in their life, maybe they had a family, maybe something else came up, they just weren't able to train as consistently. So maybe they'd show up twice a month, maybe they take a few months off and hit it hard for a few weeks, and then, they're busy again and, they got this business trip. And honestly, I don't think that this is a bad thing, but it is something that I notice. And since I'm upon this filter myself, I suppose I can't really give advice for how to not fall victim to this. And it isn't so much as falling victim as it is choosing priorities over jiu-jitsu. But I do plan on getting my black belt if I can. It seems like something that's a worthwhile accomplishment, and I don't see why I couldn't do it if I continue on the path that I'm on now. What I'll have to say is, in a couple years, I'm definitely not going to be able to do the things that I do now. I'm training a lot of jiu-jitsu, I'm coaching a lot of jiu-jitsu, but I'm not making a lot of money. In fact, I'm making very little money. And that's fine for now. Like, I'm learning, I'm a student, I'm sort of an apprentice under my coach when it comes to learning, because I'm also coaching and I'm getting instruction from him on how to become a better coach and better athlete, and I'm getting a lot of benefits out of it, but I'm not getting a lot of money. And it's not that I need a bunch of money right now. I don't even need a bunch of money, but when it comes to having a family and supporting other people, I can't make that off part-time Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu coaching and whatever I can scrape together through delivery apps. Obviously, there's going to be a point in time where I'm going to have to make the shift to something that is not what I'm doing now. And I don't think that I have to completely stop training jiu-jitsu and get a full-time job and then start fizzling out and not do any of this. I might end up getting a full-time job as, some IT worker or whatever else. I might be able to figure out a different way to make money, be it YouTube, be it selling web design services, but probably I'm going to have to take my foot off the gas as far as how much I train. Obviously, I don't want to stop entirely, but going from training almost 7 days a week, coaching 5 days a week, to maybe not even coaching at all, or maybe just coaching, and training 3 or 4 times a week, I obviously won't be getting as good as quickly, but I'll still be getting better with that much mat time, and I definitely won't be getting worse. I'd say if you trained once or twice a week, that's enough to sort of maintain your skill level. I think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to have to focus more on... Eventually, I want to have my own school, and in order to do that, you have to generate funds, and you also have to be experienced enough. So one of the secrets that I'm going to do to try to pass this filter is make part of the responsibility I adopt more Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Big brain time. What I mean by that is some of the things that stop people from doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu more frequently is the fact that you have to make money to survive. And if I could figure out a way to make money in only the hours that were not during Jiu-Jitsu, or make enough to where I could start up a school of my own and then hopefully make that self-sustaining, it's entirely possible that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu becomes a part of my responsibility. If you guys have encountered someone who experienced a great filter, if you know an old grizzled brown belt who has been in the game for over 15, seems like 20 years, but doesn't get his black belt because he just shows up every once in a while, I know a few of those guys. Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, if you want to support the channel, any of the YouTube things down below, you can like, you can comment, you can subscribe. You can continue to listen to me rant at the end of these videos and pad the watch time, because believe it or not, in the YouTube algorithms, if they're able to show double ads, this is a minimum of 8 minutes. It used to be 10, but now it's a minimum of 8 minutes. They'll promote your content a little bit more because in the long run, it'll make them more money. So, interesting thing. That might be why there was a certain period of time where YouTube videos would be like 10 minutes and like 1 second, or like 8 minutes and 1 second. That was the reason why. But thanks so much. I genuinely do appreciate anyone who's here. Drink your kombucha if you make it to the end of the video. And yeah, have a good one.